What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video I'm going to be talking about 15 UFC fighters that have leveled up in a major way in their careers. Fighters that at one point weren't seen as that good, or maybe they were seen as decent or very good, but there was still room to improve, and they made that improvement and they showed that level and came back after maybe a layoff, or came back after a tough loss, or just a period in their career when they weren't looking that good, and just became a different fighter and started just beating guys up and just changing the fans' perception of them as well. So there's going to be different sort of categories, I guess, of level up. Like, some of them are still going to have been top 10 fighters and they've just become even better. Some of them were going to have been basically complete nobodies and then made a name out of themselves. But yeah, we're going to be talking about 15 fighters in today's video. You guys let me know which other fighters have leveled up in your opinion. But yeah, let's get started with the first fighter in the flyweight division. First fighter that I believe belongs on this list is Brandon Moreno. Maybe not tomorrow, pero I promise, man, I will be champion someday, man. This dude went 0-2 after, or not 0-2, like he won a few fights, right, and then he lost 2 in a row to Pettis and Pantoja, and then he went off to LFA, won a fight there, came back, and then was looking great. And I think he did lose some fights in the build up to that title fight, I do believe, with Figueiredo, where that series just showed his level and showed the improvements that he had made, where he was eventually able to win the belt and then obviously win it back after losing it in the trilogy. But even since then, this dude looked mid as hell in my opinion against Brandon Royval. He did not look good, and then he came back after about 8-9 months off against Amir Albazi and whooped his ass and looked better than ever in my opinion. One of his best performances to date. Maybe Albazi was terrible, but I think Brandon Moreno leveled up in an extreme way in 2 separate stages of his career, and we could be seeing a second prime of Brandon Moreno right now. So that's pretty impressive in my opinion. But let's move on to the next fighter. This next fighter here, this is not a recent level up, but this is like an overall career level up, I guess. I could be reaching here because obviously I do think everyone kind of has, a lot of people do have a rough start to their UFC career. But Morob Deval really lost to Ricky Simon and Frankie Saenz, and then proceeded to go on a fucking 11-fight win streak. So I don't know what that level up was caused by. Maybe it was some enhancements in his training camp, I'm sure. But you never know. We'll see what happens with Morob. We'll see what happens. I don't know. He has definitely leveled up, though. His wrestling, his cardio, everything. He's just actually became an effective fighter to where the point that he's not getting guillotined by Ricky Simon and losing a decision to Frankie Saenz. So yeah, great level up from Morob. He's the champion of the world now after going 0-2 to start his career. Proceeded to go on an 11-fight win streak, I believe he's on right now, maybe 10, and yeah, win the belt. So crazy level up for Morob. Let's move on though to the featherweight division. Underrated level up in their career of Youssef Zalal. I don't think many people realize how crazy the level up from this guy is. He went 3-3-1 with obviously 1 draw with Timon Blackshear, but 3 losses. Fair enough to good, pretty solid competition. Lost to Taporio. But like, this dude was not good really. Like, he was mid, he was solid. Like, he gave a tough fight to Ilya. And then he goes away after getting cut from the UFC. Very Brandon Moreno-esque, I guess, in that aspect. Wins a few fights on the regional scene, all finishes, and is now right now on a 6-fight finish streak. And in his second run in the UFC, 3 submissions in a row in 2024. Crazy level up from Youssef Zalal. This dude is actually a legit fucking contender now at 145, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't get a top 15 guy next, because he's looking really good, and it's not like he's decisioning guys. No, he's finishing people after going 3-3 in the UFC. Again, to good opposition, but like, I don't know, this dude has really impressed me. He came back, subbed Billy Quarantillo, subbed Jano Aarons, and then subbed Jack Shaw. Not like world beaters of the featherweight division, but still very solid fighters in my opinion. But yeah, let's move on though to another fighter. This was one of my main inspirations for this video, is Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Now, unless you're retarded like Kenny Okoye and coping because you picked like Michael Chandler like a retard, then you would have acknowledged Charles Oliveira's performance as a very good one. And you don't, like, some people say, oh, you're just glazing Charles. Like, I don't care if you're a fucking Oliveira fan or not. This was an impressive performance. No one has, I know you can say 5th round. I'm sorry, the only success Chandler had in the fight was cheating. So, yes, okay, if this is I know I was saying ifs. If this is a 3-round fight, it's a fucking 30-25 in my opinion. Like, I thought second and third round were 10-8s for Oliveira, in my opinion. But, like, it's a dominant 3-round. Chandler didn't have any moments fight, if that's a 3-rounder. Which all of Chandler's fights to date have been, except for the first fight with Oliveira. But now, he goes out there and just looks shit, and just Oliveira makes him just miss all his shots, looks like an amateur, honestly, taking him down at will, doing really what he wants to him, just tuning him up on the feet. Like, who does that to Michael Chandler? Like, Dan Hooker got slept by him. Tony Ferguson got slept by him. Gaethje had a fucking war fight of the year. Poirier had a war with him, was almost on the ropes, and on his way to losing that fight if Chandler didn't overextend on a fucking that takedown in the third round and getting subbed. Like, no one's just ran through Chandler and made him look like nothing in the UFC. But Charles Oliveira, for the first, like, 4 minutes and 4 rounds and, like, most of that 5th round, apart from that brief bit of situation where he was just getting fouled, he just tuned up Michael Chandler and schooled him. Patient Oliveira, bro. Favela Shorts Oliveira. Recently had a kid Oliveira, because also if you don't think this was a level up, okay, whatever, you can say that, but there's no doubting in my mind that obviously the level up from his featherweight to lightweight career was significant. But then since then he got to that peak, he fought Islam and lost, CGI fight, and then he beat Beneil, and everyone's like, oh, that's a crazy level up, he looks so much better. I think he was always kind of capable of that. I'd always think he was going to beat Beneil. I don't know why people picked Beneil. I used to win that fight. And then he lost to Arman, which was tough, and it was competitive, alright, don't get me wrong. So I don't think it's crazy to say that Oliveira would beat Arman in a rematch. Again, Arman could beat him, but I think this level up from Oliveira, this level of patience. Yes, no, this was not the fucking Gaethje fight. This was not a fight of the year. This was not like the most back and forth barn burner you'll ever see. But it was not a boring fight. Kenny Okoye saying this guy's turned into the new Aljo. Meanwhile, glazing Bilal and Izzy. Very interesting stuff. But yeah, Charles Oliveira, I think this was a pretty impressive level up, just technique-wise, performance-wise, fight IQ-wise as well. Oliveira with fight IQ is just a mythical fighter, but I'm telling you, this guy's going to be a problem. I thought this was a crazy level up from Oliveira in terms of the performance. I thought he was going to win and catch him early, but I actually was more impressed by his ability to just maintain a pace as well, push for 5 rounds, didn't really gas too much. There was no, I guess Chandler had the moment, but there was no point where Oliveira looked like he was just completely cooked. So yeah, I think this was a great level up and a great performance from Charles, and he's looking a lot better even though he's 34 years of age. So if he can maybe get another win in there against like a top level guy, if he could even, I would love this to happen if he wins the belt back. That would show just how much of a level up this guy's made in his fight IQ and all of that stuff. So yeah, great win from Charles Oliveira, and one of the main reasons for me making this video. Anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. Alright, next up we move to another guy. Renato Manny Moicano cannot afford to lose, my brother. Let me tell you something. This guy has just leveled up crazy. Like, he was always a solid fighter. He was top level at featherweight, but just couldn't quite get into like that top 5. He lost to the Jose Aldos of the world, you know. And then lightweight, you know, he was solid. He was a good fighter, but he lost fights. You know, he lost to RDA, I guess it was on short notice. He did get KO'd by Rafael Fiziev. But no, since then, he came back after that layoff. He fought Brad Riddell, came back after that layoff about a year and a bit, fought Dober, beat Dober, turns around on a few weeks' notice, or about like 6 weeks' notice, beats Jalen Turner, and then comes back later in the year and beats BSD, who I guess people are starting to kind of say is a bit of a fraud, but BSD at that point was coming off a kind of back and forth 2-round war with Poirier, where he had a great first round, and Moicano ran through him like it was nothing. So I think Moicano has had a pretty crazy level up in his career, and at his older age as well. I think this guy's like 35, unless I'm bugging. But yeah, Moicano has very much impressed me in his recent UFC fights. 4 wins in a row, one of them by decision, but the other 3 all by finish. So very impressive stuff from Renato Moicano. Let's move on though to another fighter. Another lightweight fighter. A lot of lightweights that have been leveling up is Fares Ziam. This dude went from losing to McKinney and having a fucking boring decision against Claudio Puelles to killing Matt Frevola and gaining like plus 10,000 aura. Like, the performance this guy put on at that Paris card, maybe it'll end up being a one-off. Maybe he'll look mid in his next fight. But Fares Ziam, bro, if he fights like that in all of his fights, bro, I'm picking this guy to be like a top 5 lightweight, I swear. Crazy level up. He's also pretty young in his game, so maybe we are just seeing Ziam kind of grow into himself, gain more confidence. But yeah, I was very impressed by that performance against Matt Frevola. Just slept him, like tuned him up, looked good in the ground. Bro, he was picking up Frevola and dunking him on the ground. Like, that shit's impressive. Like, I was very impressed by his performance against Frevola, and definitely a level up in the career of Fares Ziam. Anyway, let's move on though to another fighter. Sticking with the lightweight division, Chase Hooper. This dude has leveled up crazy because he was like 20 fucking years old when he started in the UFC, and I think everyone was kind of worried that he's just going to get done dirty and he's going to like be in there too early and he's not going to like hold up with the like grown men when he's literally a teenager. And that proved to be true. He went 3-3 to start his career. Since then, he's won his next 3 fights after that. After those first 6 fights, he's on a 3 or 4 fight win streak, I believe. But it's not just the win streak. It's the last 2 fights though that have showed this dude's really leveled up his game, because he went out there and like looked like he had testosterone against Jordan Levitt. Now, it's crazy to say for a professional fighter, but like, it was impressive. This was the first time we're like, damn, Chase Hooper's actually like on smoke. And then he goes out there in his next fight against Borshev and fucking drops the world champion striker. I'm like 95% sure Borshev's like a world champion in some sort of striking martial art in his past pre-UFC career. Dropped him bad and beat the fuck out of him, like 10-7 round kind of shit, and then finished him in the second. Like, just those 2 fights alone. About to fight Clay Guida in a month's time. I think he's going to whoop up Clay Guida real bad. This dude's leveled up. He's getting there. Still don't rush him though. Like, do not give this guy a top 15 opponent next after he beats Clay Guida. Still slow roll him. He's 25. He's got like 6 years until his prime. So yeah, Chase Hooper though, looking much better in his career now than what he was at the start, which I'm glad to see, because he was like a prospect at the start and then he kind of just got done bad because, again, he's fighting guys too early in his career. So it's good to see that now he's actually ready for it. Now he's actually ready for the challenge and he's capable of dealing with like actually fighting fighters. And not just bums on the regional scene. So Chase Hooper now looking much better than ever. Really excited to see what's next for him in his career. A few people say I look like him as well, which I guess, I don't know, I'll take it. It's like kind of an insult, but kind of not. Anyway, it's more of an insult, I assume. But let's move on though to another fighter. The lightweight fighter. There's a lot of lightweights that have been leveling up, I'm telling you. Dan Hooker. This dude was very good early in his career. Early, like 5 years ago. This guy was like a top lightweight. I mean, he lost to like Barboza. He had that war with Poirier, lost that. And then he kind of looked a bit worse for wear. You know, he lost to Arnold Allen down at featherweight. Just didn't look good for him. Obviously got subbed before that, I think, by Islam Makhachev. He had a win in there against Haqparast. But apart from that, was just looking like he was on the back end of his career. And then he goes out there, beats up Claudio Puelles, front kicks that soy to the fucking body, finishes him. That was fun. That was great. But we're like, is he really, like, are you really back, junkie? And then he goes and fights Jalen Turner and has an absolute war with him and was getting tuned up early, and we're like, okay. And then he fucking put it on him and won. And then he takes a bit of time off because he got injured. And then in his most recent fight against Mateusz Gamrot, has a fucking scrap with him and wins. Maybe you can say controversial, but I think Dan Hooker, I don't think he's going to be like a top guy, like in terms of like top 3 or beating Makhachev in a rematch or beating Oliveira. Like, I think he would lose to those guys, but I wouldn't even mind him to be Gaethje. And this guy's looking much better. His chin's looking pretty decent. I mean, not really. He was getting rocked by Gamrot, but I just think he's leveled up a lot and shown to be a lot better from when he was against like Poirier. Well, not even Poirier. Poirier looked good, but like against fucking Arnold Allen, when he got KO'd by pillow fist Arnold Allen in fucking 4 minutes or so, or 2 minutes or whatever it was. So yeah, glad to see the improvement in Dan Hooker's game, and hopefully gets a big fight next, maybe against the Gaethje. Would be pretty sick. Let's move on though to another fighter. Joaquin Buckley, another fighter that has leveled up a lot, and another fighter that has benefited from a change in weight classes, much similar to like, I don't have him in there, but like a Gilbert Burns or a Charles Oliveira or a Chase Hooper even, who did go up to lightweight. Joaquin Buckley dropped down because he was just getting beaten up at middleweight. Like, he got slept by Holland, Curtis beat him up. Like, he was just looking mid. And then Amavov schooled him a little bit. Amavov's good, though. So, like, in hindsight, that's a pretty decent performance against Amavov. He put it on him in the third. But Buckley, since then, fucking Mike Tyson maxing, has dropped down to welterweight. And I think he's 5 or 6-0. And he's 3-0 this year. Because, well, he beat Fialio. He beat Moreno. Did he have one other fight? And then the 3 wins this year, Luke, Ruzaboev, and what's his name? Wonder Boy. So he's beaten all of these guys, looking impressive as fuck. And now he's about to fight Colby and about to be like a number 6 ranked welterweight if he wins, which is pretty crazy. So great improvement in the career of Joaquin Buckley. Went from, I know he had that early moment with that spinning kick where he kind of was always going to be a guy who was known in the UFC, but was just like a kind of run-of-the-mill middleweight bum. Or like just a guy outside the rankings at 185 to now a legit fucking contender at welterweight. So crazy level up from Buckley. Let's move on though to another fighter. Now Shawn Brady is kind of just in this video because I wanted to do 15 fighters because I want it to be like a number that like works for my brain. And I don't know, I was like, yeah, he kind of looked a lot improved from the Bilal fight because, you know, any improvement from getting TKO'd by Bilal Muhammad is going to be very evident because he went out there and smoked Gastelum and he went out there and beat Gilbert Burns, who to be honest, I was debating it because I don't even think he improved that much. I think he was always good, but he kind of shat the bed against Bilal, and like I think he still would have done that to Gastelum regardless, even though I picked Gastelum to win in hindsight. I just didn't want to pick anyone who just got finished by Bilal. But then, yeah, dominating Gilbert Burns 50-45 was very impressive. So definitely a bit of an improvement in the game of Shawn Brady, and is now like a top 5 or top 6 welterweight as well. So credit to him. Let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, Sean Strickland. Here's the fucking thing, man. This dude has leveled up his game because he used to be, again, run-of-the-mill bum welterweight, getting finished by fucking Dos Santos and all that. Well, not like a bum, but like just an average guy who no one cared about at welterweight, no personality, nothing really going on. And then since then, he's gone up to middleweight, gone on a run. I think his first loss at middleweight was to Pereira, and then he lost a close decision to Cannonier, which I thought he won. And so, yeah, if you really think about it and break it down, in my opinion, his only clear definitive loss at middleweight is to Alex Pereira, who, again, double fucking champion, top 10 all-time, arguably. So, apart from that, it's a close decision to Cannonier and a close decision to Dricus. And this dude has just leveled up a lot and is now actually, like, he went from just like, oh, Sean Strickland is the guy that main events to the Apex and says some funny dumb shit. But now he's like a fucking established, like, top 3 middleweight in the world and one of the best fighters at 185. So crazy level up for Strickland. Let's move on though to another fighter. Anthony Hernandez, another guy who I kind of just put in here to get the number to 15 because I'm again recording this at like 1 a.m. I couldn't think of some other guys. So I'm like, who can I think of that's kind of improved? And Hernandez is a guy because he was kind of mid earlier on. He did get finished quickly by Kevin Holland. He was just like a dude. Like, he was a good fighter. But now, since then, he's just leveled up to like, he was like a good, solid grappler, great pressure cardio, all that. And now he's like a nightmare of the fucking division. And people are saying this guy's like the dude who might beat Hamza. Maybe. I don't think anyone's really saying that, but I think the hardcores, they're thinking it. And I think people are like really starting to get on the idea this dude is like a top 5 guy who, if you asked people like 2 years ago what was Anthony Hernandez's ceiling, they definitely wouldn't be saying top 5. So yeah, good level up for Fluffy, and he continues to rise up the ranks as well. So interested to see what's next for him. Let's move on though to another fighter. Volcano Demir, another kind of weaker one in terms of like not the craziest of level ups, but this dude was losing fights. Like, he was on I think a 3-fight loss streak with like the DC loss. I think he lost to Smith, and then there was one other loss in there, and then I think he won a fight or two. Then he lost to Ankalaev. He beat Rakic, which was close. Lost to Ankalaev, lost to Krylov, had that win over Paul Craig in the middle, I think. But then since then, he's just finished 2 fights in the first round. Now, fair enough, it's against Johnny Walker and Bogdan Gushkov. But I still think that's fucking impressive, and he's looked good. Like, he's got power. Like, he's putting guys, like, I know Walker's a glass jaw, but like Gushkov's got a solid chin. He took shots from Ryan Spann. And yeah, he looked real good in those fights. He's about to fight Carlos Ulberg. I'm low-key thinking of picking him to win as an underdog, but I also kind of don't trust his chin. But still, I do think Ozdemir has leveled up a lot in his game. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Another guy at light heavyweight is Khalil Rountree Jr. Now, he's been on a win streak for a while, but still, it's not even the wins, because he has been winning for a bit. But yeah, again, did get finished by Johnny Walker and Kutalaba. But then and then fucking Rogan just started glazing him once he came back from Thailand. To Khalil Roundtree, he came back from Thailand, he was a completely different fighter. He stood like a tiger. Like, it was just so different. Who has Muay Thai like that? But yeah, he looked great, to be fair. But then it's not even like, oh, he hasn't looked good recently and he leveled up in his like last one fight. No, his last one fight was the fight that he lost, but in my opinion, still his most impressive performance. Like, taking Anthony Smith to the third round, I still think losing to Pereira in the way that he did is more impressive than KOing Bum Smith in the third. So Roundtree actually looks like a guy now, and I think people are similar to Usyk losing to Pantoja. Like, he was like, okay, he's good, he's solid, but now I think people are actually starting to get around him as like, okay, this dude's like top 5 caliber on a good day. Anyway, let's move on though to the final fighter. Heavyweight division, the main guy I thought about was Alexander Volkov, because most of the heavyweights have kind of always been the same. Aspinall's always been dangerous, Blades, whatever, fucking Almeida, Pavlovich, I guess, after the Overeem fight, but I don't think like that was like, oh, he was bad for like multiple fights and then he became good. But with Volkov, it's not like he was bad, he was still very top level, but you know, he went from kind of getting outstruck by Garn, just looking a bit mid, just getting subbed to Aspinall straight away, and then we got Swolkov, who's going in there KOing Rosenstrike, or not KOing, but early stoppage, but finishing Rosenstrike, finishing Tuivasa, finishing these guys, tuning up Pavlovich on the feet, and actually looking like a threat now, and a guy who, like, I would still pick him to lose to Aspinall, but would probably be a tougher fight for him and maybe take him into the like later rounds maybe. So Volkov has definitely leveled up in his game, so credit to him. That is the video done though, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. What other fighters do you think have leveled up that I missed? I'm sure there was some obvious ones outside the rankings, but just to kind of refresh my memory, I did only really look at the top 15, but there are some that I included outside there. But yeah, let me know what other ones I missed. Like the video if you enjoyed the fucking content and shit. Subscribe to the channel, follow my Instagram, Twitter, Leftland MMA, all that, and yeah, goodbye.